Imagine standing in first-century Jerusalem on Sunday. You watch a massive, ecstatic crowd hailing a triumphant messianic king. 5 days later, the same crowd in the same city demanded that this identical man be beaten and executed on a Roman cross. The sheer speed of this reversal raises a difficult question. How does a celebrated royal figure end up as a condemned criminal in a span of barely 120 hours? On the surface, the story looks like a teacher caught in a political storm he can no longer handle. Look closer at this architectural blueprint of the week. These events follow a rigid, deliberate structure where every day functions as a planned step toward a specific goal. Jesus drove this narrative as a conscious architect, moving with purpose toward a conclusion he had already defined. Jesus entered the city on a donkey to fulfill ancient prophecy. He presented himself as a humble king, subverting their hope for a military conqueror. He bypassed the Roman fortresses and political centers entirely. Instead, he went straight to the temple, the heart of the nation's religious life, to quietly assess its condition. His actions targeted a deep spiritual rot. Cursing the fig tree and driving out the money changers, Jesus challenged the corruption of the nation's worship. By Monday evening, Jesus had established himself as the primary disruptor of a failing religious system. Tuesday brought the tension to a head. The religious leaders attempted to discredit him with rhetorical traps, yet Jesus effortlessly dismantled their arguments and publicly exposed their hypocrisy. His teaching reached a climax on the Mount of Olives. He predicted the fall of Jerusalem and the end of the age, demonstrating total authority over the course of human history. Wednesday stands in sharp contrast. While Jesus withdrew into silence, his enemies met in the shadows to plot an arrest away from the volatile crowds. This temporary pause in the public eye allowed the pieces to move into their final positions. Every agent in the conspiracy was now moving exactly on schedule. On Thursday night, Jesus gathered his disciples for a meal that would rewrite history. He redefined the Passover, casting his own impending death as the ultimate means of deliverance for his people. In Gethsemane, the psychological weight was so intense he sweated drops of blood, preparing to drink the cup of judgment he had spoken of. When the temple guards arrived, Jesus stepped forward and surrendered himself. This was a calculated act of obedience to the plan he had architected. Thursday proves the cross was a conscious choice. He was acting as a willing substitute, moving toward the specific sacrifice required by the covenant he had just established. Friday morning collapsed into a series of rapid, illegal trials. The hearings before the Sanhedrin and Pontius Pilate exposed the total spectrum of human failure, religious hatred, political cowardice, and the fragility of his closest friends. By 9 o'clock, the execution began. The king who entered the gates on Sunday was now nailed to a Roman cross as a common criminal. This moment functions as a definitive legal exchange. The timeline reveals the weight of judgment transferring onto Christ as a substitute. This sacrifice satisfied the requirements of divine justice. By bearing the penalty, Jesus cleared the debt of sin for all who believe. Friday represents the successful execution of the redemptive plan established before the foundation of the world. The heavy, suspended silence of Saturday took hold, as the Lord's body remained in the tomb, and all hope seemed buried. This deep stillness provides a narrative breather, reminding us that God is often at work precisely when he appears to be silent. On Sunday morning, the empty tomb stood as the public confirmation that Friday's sacrifice was effective. Notice how the week locks into place. Sunday asserted kingship. Monday targeted corruption. Tuesday confronted falsehood. Wednesday set the conspiracy. Thursday defined the new covenant. Friday accomplished the forensic payment. The resurrection validates the entire structure. God's love for humanity preceded these events. Holy Week was the historical manifestation of a plan to save us, decreed from eternity.